Hello. Welcome to LadyGang Quickie. I am Becky here with Jack and Kelty.
Hello.
Today is a very Jack-focused episode. So
great.
a lot of times, Becca and I will get into like New York, and like we had Victoria from DCC, and we're like talking a lot about New York and dance and how we met, and then Jack's just like, "What is dance?" You know.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was time for you to get your flowers, Jack.
Oh, great.
So this is all about you today, and actually, this was requested by the members of our Facebook group, is that people were like, Jack never talks about her scene queen days in detail. And we really want to know, and they gave me a list of things they want to know. But if you're a Becca, you may not know about the scene queen days. You may not understand what they were. And so I have stolen a paragraph from Nylon Magazine.
Oh.
And I'm going to use it as the introduction to Jack. I'm putting my reading glasses on. Here we go. George W. Bush is president of the United States. Everyone is quoting Borat. A little-known country singer named Taylor Swift has just released her first album, and most of our leisure time is spent online at a website called Myspace. There, you can upload the selfie you took on your brand new digital camera, leave a flirty message in alternating caps on your crush's wall, and set your favorite Taking Back Sunday song to blast every time someone clicks your name. MySpace was the creation of a mysterious man known simply as Tom, but by then it was clear who really ruled the site. It was the era of the scene queens, and they were at the top of the world, or at least the top of your 8. They controlled the blogosphere with a heavy hand of eyeliner and a searing hot flat iron, mingling offline with some of the era's biggest bands, effectively making them the objects of obsession on LiveJournal and beyond. And then, just as quickly as Ryan Ross left Panic at the Disco, they all but disappeared from the mainstream.
Rude.
Or did they? And how exactly did a group of spiky-haired, cartoon-loving teen girls become bona fide celebrities overnight with nothing more than a dial-up modem and access to Manic Panic and a Hot Topic?
Wow. Well, that has nothing to do with me, but...
No, but this was just about the scene.
Oh, yeah.
No, well, actually, this was the introduction, and then there was the 8 of you and where you ended up.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were a part of it. Okay, so... what was LiveJournal?
Okay, well, LiveJournal was like, that was where I started. That was before MySpace.
Like a Tumblr? Like we write?
Yeah, it was like a Tumblr. It was just like, write your journal.
Like a Reddit?
Like a public journal.
No, it was a public journal.
Oh, I love it.
It was an
Can't
online
believe
journal.
I didn't have one.
I'm shocked you didn't have one.
No.
Like, truly.
This is where you would have thrived as well.
Oh my God.
How did you not have never heard of it?
I didn't have a computer, I think, for a while.
Maybe that's
MySpace
what
was my first internet thing.
Okay,
so LiveJournal, you posted like, here's what I'm doing today. It's Thursday.
Yes. But like a lot of my LiveJournal was about going to shows and like meeting band guys. But I started it when I was like 15. So it was still like my parents were driving me to the shows.
And if I was listening to your LiveJournal, I would follow your LiveJournal and I would get the updates.
I think that you would follow people. I think so. But it was so funny back in the day. Like I was huge on LiveJournal and I think I had like 2,000 followers on it. Like your world was so much smaller back in the day because there wasn't many people on the internet.
Right.
But I don't even know how people really found other people on LiveJournal. Like it's weird having like virality in the very beginning of social media when like, I don't know how it happened.
Right.
It was very weird.
And so you would just talk about what?
Mostly, I mean, I talk about just my life, like what I was doing very dramatically. A lot of, which I stole from Ryan Ross, a lot of Third Eye Blind lyrics, a lot of like taking lyrics from multiple songs and rearranging them to like really show what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And then, and then going to shows. And that's how I think it took off because there was like, girls following from middle of America that weren't going to shows that were like living vicariously through
Could you post photos?
You could post photos. That's where all my photos were.
Oh,
well, all of them were on photo. You go to PhotoBucket, upload them to PhotoBucket, put it in with HTML.
Yeah.
It was like a whole process. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because PhotoBucket expired. So you can't even find all of your, that's what I'm saying about this, our generations. It's like photos just disappear.
Hey,
There's no way to like keep them.
It's so crazy.
But my mom did save so many of my LiveJournal entries online, printed out on paper.
No.
I have like hundreds of pages
Would
from it.
she read it in real time?
Yes.
And you knew she was reading it?
I mean, my mom was the queen of
She
like
talked
knowing
about that.
every single.
But she didn't
Yeah.
tell you. She knew it.
She knew everything that was going on. She knew every conversation I was having, but she was very good at like not getting in the middle of something unless like there was a problem, which there like never was. But
Well, see, you have a healthy relationship with your mom. And I'm wondering like how she was able to navigate it. Cause I have other girlfriends whose moms snooped and literally knew every word they ever wrote, everything, like all the conversations. And they had so much resentment because they felt like their privacy had been
ruined.
So I never really knew that she did it until like later in life. And she would, this is how she said that she would like approach me about it. Like if there was something I was talking to somebody about, but I was like a really good kid. So it's not like I was doing drugs or like sneaking out, but she would be like, I approached it in a way where I was like, oh, hey, I was watching Oprah and on this, they were saying that, you know, what is the thing with weed? Like, she would present it in a way that she kind of heard somebody else talking about it and then sort of like lightly brought it to
that
me.
old trick.
But would you blow it off and be like, come on, mom?
No, because I was like, I don't know. I was a good kid.
Yeah.
You didn't ever pick up on it. You're like, that's so weird because
I just wrote this on
smoked
LiveJournal.
weed.
There was one time that I remember her like busting into my room because I posted about smoking a clove cigarette when I was like 16.
Oh my God.
She's like, you need to delete that right now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was looking out for me.
I mean,
though.
it was also in her defense, it was a live journal that was available to the public.
Yeah,
She wasn't
and,
like reading your journals that are locked away in your drawer.
And like
Remember
a
that little
college
lock?
could. What?
The little lock on their
journal.
journals.
You thought
Like-
it was so safe.
Yeah, you're like, nobody's going to read this.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, yeah, college admissions people could read it.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
No,
so,
that's probably right. Okay, okay, so then you move over to MySpace.
Well, no, I moved to Friendster first. Did you?
What
We were never on
is
Friendster.
Friendster?
Friendster was pre-MySpace. It was basically the same kind of thing, but no bells and whistles. Like it was just like a blue and white page. And that was like the original like people finder.
Oh.
And again, I had like 200 friends on it and I'm like, I'm famous.
Yeah.
It's so
I'm
funny.
famous.
Okay, so then MySpace.
Then MySpace.
And what do you think, like, okay, so did you know other scene queens in real life? Like, who was copying who?
That's the thing that I think is so interesting is I never remember looking at anybody for inspiration for what I was doing. But like at the same time, well, you go back and you look up scene queens, it was like me, Audrey Kitching, Hanna, Beth.
Yeah.
Like we were the three. And then there was a bunch of like randoms like around us.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't know what I was looking at for inspiration. I was just like, you know what I want? A raccoon tail in my hair.
But like, you didn't, because there's no Pinterest, there's no.
No.
Were there
It wasn't-
magazines like the way that I read like Tiger Beat?
No. Not for
Nothing.
like emo kids.
Right. So
Yeah.
it wasn't mainstream.
You just
We kind of, like-
decided it was weird and went for it?
Like, I think that like Audrey and I, because Audrey was the one that dated Brendan Urie. So we dated them at the same time. Like we'd like go off each other and she was very like creative and weird. So, and like doing, I don't know, we kind of like bounced off of each other. But then, yeah, it's funny because I'm like, there was nowhere to look up anything. And it was such an original, like emo style was such an original style that
but
it's
it
like,
wasn't like Instagram now where there's a lot of emo people following a lot of emo people on MySpace. So they're just sort of being inspired by each other's pictures.
yeah, like I think that's what it ended up turning out to be.
Right.
So like you were like, ooh, let's wear like these shirts over a lace dress with the ripped things.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden everyone would be wearing that.
Yeah.
Or like from music videos, maybe from
But
emo
that was
stuff.
like happening kind of after. Like, I mean, like this, because the scene would kind of, it was like expanding. But it was very bizarre because I look back and try to think about it. I'm like, who is my girl?
Yeah.
And I'm like, nobody.
Yeah.
I was just like, I want to sew my jean skirt like this and I want to put a patch like this. And I wanted to dye my hair black and my mom wouldn't let me.
Mhm.
And then that was just like kind of
Did you ever have black hair?
my mom let me do a black streak right here.
Oh my
But no
God.
black, just one little black streak.
So funny. Okay. And then where did you have the ideas for the photo shoots? Like, you know, I remember Kim Kardashian was like, I invented the selfie, or Paris Hilton was like,
Yeah.
I invented the selfie or whatever. But like, it was almost happening at the same time. They
Yeah.
were doing like glamorous selfies.
Well, that's how I was expressing myself. I'd be like listening to this band, and then I'm like, okay, it's like Taking Back Sunday, and like, what do these lyrics mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
Always in a bathtub, because it was like I was at my parents' house, and I had my dad's like Canon camera.
But
and
did you have a tripod?
I had a tripod.
Aw.
Like I was a master of the selfie.
Yeah, no, I know.
But mine were cool and creative, like for
Yeah.
the time. But yeah, I was always in a bathroom because I'm like, I have my room in my bathroom.
That's the two locations.
Or like my parents' backyard,
Yeah.
and that was it. Yeah, it was. I love doing it though. It like really was, I like look back at it and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that like no regard and no shame and I could be able to express myself like that. Because it was how I expressed myself.
Do you think that's why you and I are both so triggered by people who are still expressing themselves very deeply on the internet?
Probably.
Because we selfishly or secretly want to be able to do that.
Yes. I'm like, all this sounds, or like anything creative. I don't know. I really, it was such a big thing for like, for me. Yeah.
When was the first time that you realized like I'm like famous on the internet?
I mean, it was on LiveJournal because people would start. Well, it was when I think I got bullied for the first time, like online bullied. Before it was a thing, like online bullying wasn't a thing back in the day. And it was when people were spreading rumors and saying that I had STDs from all the guys I slept with and all the abortions that I had when I was like 17 years old. And I think that was the first thing. Yeah, getting comments from people I didn't know that were just like making up shit about me.
That's so weird. What was the first time you made money off being a scene queen other than Jac Vanek brand?
That was it. I mean, you couldn't make it.
You couldn't monetize on Myspace, right? Or people weren't.
No. I mean, it was weird that I was doing that. I feel like I was one of the first people that like tried to sell anything like as an influencer. Remember Forbidden? Do you remember her? She had like bleach blonde hair, like more of like a Playboy kind of like a vibe, but like goth. Anyways, she had like a jean line and she went on Tyra Banks and stuff. And that was like weird. Everybody's like, oh, why does she have a brand?
Wow.
She's just like a Myspace girl. But yeah, that was like the first, nobody was making any money off of it. And everybody thought that like being Myspace famous, they're like, well, what are you going to do with that? That's not going to get you a job.
Right.
There's a lot of times where I'm like, I got to figure out like what my job's going to be because like being famous on the internet's not going to do anything.
Do you think you were more
funny.
confident then or now?
In different ways.
Yeah.
I think I was more shameless back in the day.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really care what people thought of me, but I think I was also really insecure at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like a weird dichotomy.
Yeah.
I
think that's a lot of young women, right? Like,
like you're putting yourself out there in really weird ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like not
such a strange thing.
Yeah.
You were like,
I'm more reserved now.
You're more delusional, like just kind of like, whatever, this is going out there. I'm going to be my freest self and not worry. But then it's probably the year you're actually more of a whole person now.
Oh yeah.
But the years of the internet bullying and people having an opinion about everything about you has broken you down that you're more cautious about what you post. So it's like, while you became a better, more full human, you're like more precious about what goes out.
Yeah, because it's like back in the day, you're sharing like all of your thoughts and feelings. And again, I was like a privileged white kid from Orange County. So I'm like, I wasn't going through any like
major,
like traumas or anything like that. But it definitely makes you more cautious for sure.
Okay. When we come back, we're getting the tea on all the other scenes. This is the list from the LadyGang Facebook group. Do not get mad at me. People are very interested in how you met Audrey and like how you became friends and if you were really that close or if it was just the scene.
I mean, I met her because she started dating Brendan. I think that they met online too. I mean, everybody met online back in the day, I guess, except for you and Ryan. And then it was like a circumstantial friendship.
Because you're both dating at the same time?
Yeah. And that's when the internet like blew up because they're like the two scene queens dating like the two main guys from Panic at the Disco. And it was like this like massive.
But it was so short.
3 months.
And then from then on, she became Audrey and you became Jac.
She dated Brendan longer than me and Ryan, I think for like a few months, not long.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't dating him when you started dating him, right?
No. He was dating Brittany.
Brittany who?
A little brunette named Brittany.
Oh.
He brought her as a date to the VMAs. That's why I remember, because none of the guys had dates.
Oh. Yeah, it was like circumstantial. And then she like, we were very different. So yeah, she like did her own thing and I did my own thing.
Where did she end up? Where is she now?
I don't know. I don't think it's like I don't think anybody knows.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Shelley Miscavige?
I think she lives in Pennsylvania or something and kind of like
not in the public.
She's still scening or no?
She was like selling crystals for a while, I think. And
right. I remember she had her post scene queen brand was very like hippie oriented. I even bought some sage off of her once. Yeah, I'm easily influenced by the scene queens, you know?
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure.
So, but you guys did a zillion photo shoots together.
That was our thing. But it was all within like a thing of like 3 months. That's why the internet's so funny because it's something that people have held on forever.
It's so
and it was
true.
so
It feels like you were doing this for years.
It was so short lived. Like a few months. It was 3 months. At
Was
most.
that like the high of the whole experience? Like
it's
you
so
guys
fun.
both dating the two main guys in the band?
I mean, it's like the Penny Lane
Yeah.
of
It's
it all.
iconic.
It
Yeah.
is iconic. It was iconic because it was that like, it really set the scene for like what the scene was.
Yeah.
And I think for whatever, like the wannabe scene queens
Yeah.
are like, oh, I can date this guy and this guy.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know why they broke up?
No,
Did she give you any advice when you guys broke up?
no.
Okay.
Close friendship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't.
Okay. There was a girl named Zooey Suicide.
Yeah.
What's her name and where's she now?
She was like after Audrey and I stopped being friends and they sort of did a thing. She
Oh.
was more like goth. Not
Yeah,
gothy, but
I
more.
kind of remember her.
Well,
more goth.
Suicide was her stage name, right?
Yeah.
So that made,
Yeah, it
Tracks.
was more
She had like black hair, right?
black hair, I think tattoos. It
Yeah.
was more of like the alt sort of more
Girl.
like not even emo, but like alt.
Mhm.
So then they became like besties and like tried to do the same kind of thing. And I think they tried to do a reality show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was-
Then there's Hannah Beth, who I knew
Yeah.
because by the time BuzzNet was happening, I was a buzz maker and Hannah Beth was a buzz maker.
Yeah.
And I thought Hannah Beth,
Oh, she was like fashion queen.
she was so cool.
Yeah.
I remember we did like this photo shoot for influencers and I was like, I don't belong here because like everyone was so cool. She just had like the best clothes. She had like weird tattoos. Her whole
Yeah.
like house was like wallpapered in fur. Like it
Yeah.
was just like
You're-
Very kitschy.
so kitschy. So were you friends with her?
Yeah, I was friends with her. I always loved her. She was always like super sweet. And so like the three of us, me, her, and Audrey, were friends for must have been less than 3 months.
No.
But we did all these photos together that like lived on the internet again for like a long time that people like were obsessed with.
You're like a supermodel in the 90s. Like those images of Cindy Crawford,
It's so
like
funny.
you never forget it. And
Yeah.
you're like, I've eaten, like feed the children for the last 30 years. That
Yeah.
same photo.
Yeah, but I always loved Hanna. We like stayed close for a while, like on and off, but I think she's off doing her own thing.
Yeah, what is she?
I don't know.
Like it kind of actually made me sad. I did go check out when I was researching, I was like, I want to know what Hannah Beth is doing. And not sad because I don't know what's going on in her life, but it's like, it's crazy to me that, and this is what happens with like hot, and I mean like sexy hot, I mean just like hot things on the internet.
Yeah.
It's like you're so big on the thing that you blew up on and then moving on. So it's like when I looked at Hannah, I was like, oh my God, you were like the Alex Earl
Yeah.
of MySpace. Like couldn't have been a cooler it girl on
Yeah.
the planet. And then to be like trying to like make relevant on Instagram, it's like kind of hurts your soul.
It's all relative. It's like the hottest girl from high school, the homecoming queen. Like, you know, she goes on with her life and she does all the things and it's like not peaking because
No, but it's true. I've just been very lucky that I've been very scrappy when it comes to pivoting,
Yeah.
like and
Yeah.
doing different things because there are a lot of people that you like look up and you're like, oh, got the same vibe going on. Seems like you're kind of doing the same thing. And like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I follow Chris Cabrera from Dashboard on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And it's like kind of depressing, to
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest with you. Like I love Dashboard. Did you ever listen to Dashboard Confessional?
I didn't like-
whatever.
You know, like
but
the
yeah,
one
Yeah,
song
I know
probably.
the song.
like I remember going to shows and being like, oh my God, there's Chris. Like he was so vibey and so emotional. And that
Yeah.
like he did this MTV Unplugged that
Yeah.
time. And it
is
was
he
like,
just like in a shiplap kitchen now?
No, they're still touring.
no,
and
they're
doing, like,
still
massive
touring and they're still
tours.
doing things, but you're watching them and you're like, I can't believe you have 11,000 followers. Like
But it is-
you're,
Oh, I
you're
see
just
what you mean.
like,
They're still selling out huge tours, so don't feel bad for him.
okay. But I'm just like, I don't know.
No,
It's
I
like
get what
he's
you-
trying really hard on the internet like me. Like I feel you. And it's like not
Oh, so he's putting a lot of effort in?
a lot.
Oh, wow.
Well, when you see somebody like you're doing the same thing that I remember you doing 15 years ago is like
but
a
it's
weird
like
look.
not as
I've
cool
realized
now.
though that I don't want to see rock stars in their natural habitat.
I do
I mean,
not.
I want the natural habitat to only be on stage.
Yes.
I do not want to see you with all your
Exactly.
tattoos and your eyeliner in a grocery store.
Never.
It actually, or in your like normal looking house. Like it weirds me out and it
Weirds
takes away all the
me
mystique for me.
out.
Well, that's what I think the Maine does a really good job with that. Like they're very like there's like a mystery to them
Yeah.
still because I'm like, Jared, like let's do more stuff on social media. He's like, well, he just freezes in front of a camera, so that's his own thing. But like they keep it very
Yeah.
separate while also connecting with their fans really well. Like,
Yeah.
but it's not like let's like
Do
do
a
a
TikTok
story
trend.
from yeah.
No. Should we be more elusive?
That's
No,
too
I feel
late.
like- yeah.
Okay. No.
Cool. Okay, I have two more.
Okay.
Kiki Cannonball, who I have no idea who that is.
I don't really know either.
Why
Okay.
didn't you have an alias?
Yeah, why don't you have a weird name?
I think because thank God I don't, number one. That would have been
That's
so
so
weird.
cool.
What
would it have been?
I think the reason
I
why
know.
I don't is because when I was in high school, when I was 16, I got my first job being a photographer at absolutepunk.net, which was like the biggest music website.
Mhm.
And that's where I was like, oh my God, I'm a professional working lady. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't paid. It was an unpaid internship basis. No, it was an unpaid job.
Okay.
But anyways,
Free labor.
I had to have like my username on it. That's why I started going by Jac, because Jacqueline Vanek was too long to fit in the username. So I just did Jac Vanek, and that's the reason why I go by Jac.
Whoa.
But I think because of that, and people knew me because of that before I went to
Your
MySpace.
origin story had already begun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm really glad because I probably would have picked something so dumb.
Yeah.
and it
then
wouldn't
that's
have
how you know people.
transferred all these years later to this level of fame on the podcast.
Yeah, I couldn't be like Jack Murder Vixen or
yeah,
something.
Yeah. And you would have picked something weird like
Yeah.
that. And you
Cannonball?
actually probably would have, I think, renamed a serial killer into like a Jack. So it'd be like Jackery Dahmer or something like that. You know what I mean? That was like really inappropriate. And then like no brands would want to
Wait,
Instagram
I know this is
influence
off
you.
topic, but it's also about Jack. I need to know, do you think Scott Peterson killed Lacey
Oh
Peterson?
my God, this is a whole thing.
I need to know.
Which documentary have you watched recently?
I'm only doing right now Netflix.
Okay, so you need to watch the Peacock one after.
Okay.
Okay. The Netflix documentary.
Sorry, were you done?
is
No, but that's okay. No,
We
I'm
can go
done.
back.
No, I'm done. This is actually a great ending. The last one was Jeffree Star, who I know is like,
He's
you're
doing
not
his
really
thing.
friends with her.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that was it. That was the
Sorry,
last.
sorry.
I wanted to make
I've
sure
been-
I
it's
feed the children.
Been burning question inside of me that I've been meaning to ask Jack.
I will say I was not there. I don't know if he did it or not. All that he was convicted on was circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
And like a character assassination.
Yeah.
Like there was no physical evidence that tied him to that crime at all. And all the media coverage the entire time was so biased.
Yeah.
And once the police decided that he was their guy, like he was their guy. And then once Amber Fry came out, they're like, it was over for him.
Yeah.
But there were so many things that were happening. There was a burglary across the street the same day that
Yes.
she went missing. They did like the toxicology report and the autopsy on her unborn son. And he was like 3 weeks older than he would have been if he was killed that day. So it's like literally physically impossible for that to have happened. And there's like a lot of these like, and
Wait, what do you mean?
so
like
the-
she lived another 3 weeks.
Okay, so she was killed on December 24th. It was Christmas Eve. So when they did the autopsy on Connor, like the unborn child, it said that he was older than that. Like he was like 3 weeks older than being killed on that day. So like the theory would be that like somebody maybe kidnapped them and she was alive for longer than that.
But I like even now they're not amazing at knowing exactly
I
when you get pregnant and how old your fetus is. Like a due date, like
Yeah.
they could do measuring, and back then I could see there being a 3-week
Discrepancy.
Because
I
what
don't-
year was this?
2002, I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's a good chance that they maybe were just measuring him wrong at the doctor.
I mean, well, it wasn't at the doctor. It was an autopsy.
No, I know, but at her doctor's appointments when she was alive, they were like, "You're about 6 weeks right now."
Yeah.
Like guessing the day of conception.
Mm.
So they might have just had an assumption of like how her own doctor was like, yeah, she was 30 weeks pregnant or whatever, but
Yeah.
she could have been 33 weeks pregnant.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I'm not
Right.
a doctor. But I will say just with everything, it's just the people, it's the same thing with like the Jac Vanek case. I think that there's been this narrative of exactly what something was, and it's based on a lot
Media.
of just media bias. So allegedly the Peacock documentary is a more like unbiased look. And then there's also, if you really want to get into it, there's an episode of this podcast called Robbie and Ellen Solve the Case. They did an episode on Scott Peterson going through like the exact timeline. And there's just so much shit that the police just were like, this doesn't fit our story.
Right. So we're not going to use it.
So we're not going to use it. It's not going with our case. It's not matching what our
But
case should
this was the weirdest thing, Kelty. So he had a mistress that came out later.
be. Yeah.
And he told the mistress 2 days before
It's so bad.
2 days before Lacey disappeared, he told the mistress he had to admit to her that he had been married because another person had told her or had told him, hey, I know that you're married. You need to tell this girlfriend of yours that you're married. So he did tell the girlfriend, but the way that he said it was, I was married and my wife actually passed away. This was 2 days before she died.
The Amber Fry stuff is so bad. It's so bad. But that's circumstantial evidence. Like that's still not, they didn't find any physical evidence.
But like sometimes circumstantial evidence is enough to be like,
it's bad. But you can't put somebody on death row with circumstantial evidence. But like, that's crazy.
It's enough to be like, okay, I think we've got our guy, maybe.
It's really horrible. Bad. But I will say, do I think he did it? Probably. Do I think he got a fair trial? No. And do I think he deserves a new trial? Yes. Like
yeah, for sure.
That's my opinion.
If there's ever a doubt, you have to give a guy.
It's not beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
Like, and that's just crazy. You can put somebody on death row for that.
Is he on death row?
Yes. Well, they just took him off of death row. He was on death row for like 20 years. They just took him off. And then the LA Innocence Project is taking on his case. And they only take on cases that have like a really good probability of maybe finding something. And the last thing I'll say about this, they thought it was like there was a theory that it could have been a kidnapping. There was a burned van that they found a couple blocks away from their house that had a bloody rag in it. And they never sent it in for testing. And this was like at the exact time that she got kidnapped. So the LA Innocence Project is like, Kelsey.
Wouldn't they have known if she had been burned?
Or
they
don't
burned
know
it
the manner
after
of
they
death.
used the. Okay,
I don't. The truck was burned, so I'm sure they were trying to burn whoever was trying to burn the truck. But yeah, they don't have a murder scene, murder location, murder weapon, murder time. Like it's crazy the amount of things that were that it's all just circumstantial. Sorry.
On that note, Jac,
I'm so sorry. I just needed this.
I'm so excited that you were Jac Vanek scene queen so that you could be Jac Vanek podcasting queen. And if you want to hear more of Jac in her element, which is not allegedly what's happening in celebrity culture on here on the LadyGang, it's her actual real element. The First Degree podcast is not this podcast, but it is available wherever you get your podcast. And it's Jac doing what she just did, which is actually fascinating. And I will be tuning in. Okay, we weren't here for a long time. We were here for a really murderous time.
Ooh.